Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters show, down-to-earth discussions on metaphysics, spirituality, paranormal, and healing topics. The Sedona Soul Sisters are Terry Ann Russell. Wave so they know who you are, Terry Ann. Maybe she can't hear us. Melissa Brace, Roz Reynolds, and myself, Ivory Lanou. I'm trying to talk clearly here. We have an offices in Sedona. Yes, we do, where we see clients from all over the world. Yes, apparently I'm in a 2021 stupor. Today's topic is breaking out of your comfort zone. I think that's a good one for all of us. If you have questions or comments on today's topic and you're here on the show live, you can raise your hand and ask it. We'll unmute you, or you can ask it in the chat room, which I just opened, and we'll be happy to answer your questions there. If you're watching later on YouTube, as many people do, you can email us, and that address is in the discussion, the information below, and you can email and we'll answer that at any time for you too. So, I think this is a good show to start the new year with. Lots of people are eager to shift.
Oh, it seemed like from the beginning, from March on last year, everyone was out of their comfort zone.
Oh, I know. We were pushed out of our comfort zone, shoved and kicked.
Yeah.
Sort of the equivalent of being in a car going down the highway at 55 miles an hour and someone opens the door and kicks you out, and you just have to roll and go with it because you have no choice.
Very strange. very, very strange year, really. I mean, when you think about it. Certainly, I feel like the majority of people, this never even crossed their mind, their radar screen, or anything. Although it's floated around out there in discussion, off and on.
What, pandemics?
The pandemic thing.
I wish I was one of those people, but having worked in public health a long time, I was very aware of the dangers of pandemic and that it was overdue and on kind of high alert for that. But let's go outside of even what's happening on a countrywide or worldwide level, but more how people can move forward themselves, because there's a lot of people feeling stuck right now. Yes, you may be stuck at your house. You may be stuck in there with people you're tired of seeing, but how can you move forward? What do you think is the best way to do that?
This morning I started out, I always start every day with a prayer and meditation. And I was kind of scattered, and I was thinking, gosh, I need to get my little fragmented mind together, like fragmented pieces in order, because I know that is what our focus will be in this next year. And I was just thinking, because it was New Year, I was thinking, oh, well, I didn't do any resolutions. I just wrote a couple of main things down for myself, goals and things that I wanted, but I didn't really overdo it this year. And I was thinking, what do we all really want, and what do we want as a collective? And that's what my meditation prayer was this morning. Like, as I was collecting my scattered pieces, or and my list of things in my mind that I needed to do, and I just thought, oh, well, I just need to hold peace and love and wholeness and healthiness, and us coming together and working together, and saying no to the ugly, stupid, gross stuff of the past, or the crazy politics and the crazy painful stuff that we've been through, and come together as we heal together and choose a couple, 2, 3, 4 things that are really important to us as a whole. So that's my 2 cents on the beginning. That's what I was doing this morning.
That's a good way. I start my day like that too. And that's a good way to kind of set the tone for your day. But, it's interesting because when you develop a practice of whatever it is that you do every day, you definitely shoved out of your comfort zone if something throws that off. Now, today's a classic example because I did something I never do. I turned my alarm off and went back to sleep. And very out of character for me, but all of a sudden it was like 10 o'clock, and I'm usually up by then. I'm already done. I've had breakfast. My comfort zone was definitely blown. And I think we have to realize that when that happens, it's more than just that it happened. It gives you a chance to kind of analyze how you're handling things when you're shoved out of that feeling of, oh yeah, I've got it all under control. Yeah. So it's actually maybe a little bit of a good thing, because it forces you, to reassess your priorities and really take a look at, wow, I really need to get my act together in this one area. This whole last year for me has been kind of about that, because I've never done well when I feel like confined. I just, have never felt comfortable. And this whole last year has been about, one rule or another. Don't go here, don't do this, don't be exposed, don't, etc. And I feel like, taking a look at all those things, then we take a look at the inner us and we think, okay, am I going to tap into fear? Am I going to get calm and really look at this and think about what I feel is going on? So it's challenging for sure.
There's a few things I've noticed about making big shifts forward and like really stepping out on a limb. And one of those things for me has been that trauma especially chaos, tends to push me forward. And whether I like it or not, either I just find myself pushed and I have to deal with it, kind of like a smaller version of the pandemic for the world, or I come to a place where I realize what I need to do and I just know I have to do it, and I finally make the move. But the other thing is that I always feel this ambivalence before I do something big, and that includes, like right now, writing this book that I'm working on. And I think about, these are the silly things, and I know I'm not alone with this because other clients of mine are writers, and we talk about this, like if you do write a book or you do a talk show or you do something that puts you out into the public, and there's these thoughts like, what are people going to think? Am I going to draw trolls? Are people going to, attack me? The dark going to attack me? And it's like, but you know what? That can happen even if you just go about your daily life. Look at all the people who just have a Facebook account and all of a sudden they're attacked by trolls, or Twitter. Nothing protects us from people who want to be ugly or dark or toxic. Nothing really protects us from that happening. So why would we allow that, the maybe of it, stop us from doing something that we feel a strong push to do? Whether that's something you're working towards, a mission or a new hobby or changing careers, you have to push past the fear, or the fear is the prison.
I agree with that. Like Roz was saying, like I feel the opposite. Like I love to be hunkered down. I could probably be a hermit in the woods somewhere and never come out to see society. So for me, it's actually been quite the opposite. I know a lot of people have struggled with not being able to go out. I really feel like for me, it gave me that time to be in my space and to go within and have the courage to do those things. Because like you were saying, I've done a lot of talk shows and a lot of interviews this year. And man, it's scary. It's like every time before I would get on, I would get this excitement within me. And then I would start to, just like go through this routine where I would just say affirmations and pray, be like, please just give me the words to say, the right words to say, the people to reach and stuff. And it's really scary. I have to tell you, there were times I was like, oh my God, can I do this? Can I really, especially like the first couple of times I was like, can I really do this? But I did it and I had to do it. So I understand what it's like when that fear comes up and those old paradigms, those old thoughts and beliefs play again in your head. And you're like, all right, well, I have to do it. So I'm going to do it and shut the hell up,
I know the truth is that if we allow that fear and that nervousness to get the best of us and keep us from doing something, that's a sneaky way that ourselves can step into ego, because then we're making it all about us, when the truth is, for instance, this show we're doing here is not to it's not to promote ourselves. It's not to try to be famous in some way. It's to try to get the word out to more people. It's to try to reach more people and help them. And that's what the core of our work is. And so think about it that way. Like if you're pushed to do something, you're supposed to do it. And if it's positive and uplifting and spiritual, then why would you let your ego, which is worrying about what's going to happen to you or said to you or done to you, stop you from doing that?
Good point.
Mhm.
You know, because a lot of that actually is you're clinging to ego oriented issues. So I don't know, it's really interesting. I know from my perspective, for you know, to have it be announced, okay, you're all the places you're not allowed to go, all the places that you could you can go, but you have to follow very strict parameters and rules. And I have found it interesting that, you know, I have found a lot of people have taken this time, which everyone has been staying home, and they've decided to travel for whatever reason they need to. And I mean, they have to travel for business. They have to, you know, they moved, they whatever. And for them, it was like overcoming that fear of, am I being exposed because I'm traveling? Am I being, you know, am I putting myself in a position where I, you know, and can get this virus? It's interesting because I, from my personal perspective, I mean, I did not get to choose when I traveled last year. I had certain times that I had to be a certain place, and I just went on and did that. Of course, I mean, I had to. So it's pretty interesting to look at that and assess your level of fear, your level of faith. Like, I just was always feeling like and my angels told me this. I asked and I said, do I have something to worry about here? And they said, no, you'll be fine. And, you know, that was part of the reason that I felt comfortable to go. But the aspect of having to say to myself, okay, am I allowed to go here at this time? I never experienced that before. So I think there are a lot of people who were very challenged by that. And we see, you know, it varies so much from state to state too. So it's a very kind of like area specific issue too. Because some states have just dealt with things completely differently. I mean, trust me, you go to California, you feel like you're looking over your shoulder all the time, like,
They're worried about having 0 ICU beds in the next week or so. So I
is
can
some
kind of
big
understand
virus
that.
hanging over my shoulder? Is some big bug coming after me? So interesting.
Something that's been coming up very frequently over the last month with my clients, and especially with people who are students or have been students, and they have been working towards their own spiritual business of different sorts. And they're afraid to do it. You know, they have all the skills, they absolutely have everything they need to move forward, and they know that they're supposed to do it, it's their mission, and they're afraid to step in. And what's happened is several of my clients told me that early in the month of December, so there must have been something energetic then, they gave serious thought to shutting it all down, getting a very mundane job, walking away from their gifts, their missions, and that they just could not make that move. And then they never told me, which I thought was interesting. I said, that tells me that you really weren't as close to giving it up as you think you were. And they all laughed at that. They're all like, yeah, you're right. I would have come to you. I would have been crying. But they didn't. None of them did. And it's brought them to a point where they're realizing they have to do it. And I think that may be like what it feels like, that last barrier that we have to push through that holds us back from doing something that we're guided to do. And I don't care whether it's a career, a relationship, a move, it doesn't matter what it is. If you feel that last, you know you're supposed to do it, and you've got this thing telling you quit, you can't do it. Well, that's a way that dark can attack you too, and try to keep you from accomplishing your mission, keep you from exercising your gifts and helping people. And when you really look at it, it's very effective. So, kind of be on guard for that and be prepared to just push through. And I like to say out loud, I know we've talked about this at the office. Yes, I can do it. I'm perfectly capable. I can do this. Just put it out there and you'll stop getting those thoughts in your head.
I think dark, that's a huge tool of the dark.
God, doubt.
To
Yes.
make doubt and challenging your faith and challenging your sense of purpose.
Manipulating you to believe something else that is not true. Like you can't do it. You won't make enough money. You're not good enough. Those
That's
things.
a big one. Yeah.
And I was addressing those this morning in my scattered energy as well. And what you were saying earlier, like it's kind of hard to, as we have all been going through oppression and with the masks and things, it's just kind of a visual oppression, right? And during the middle of this, not only did I complete several surgeries and had a great interference, like rude, ugly, gross, dark interference, telling negative things, but I moved across the country in the middle of COVID, and it was uncomfortable. And every day I went, I don't know if I could do this. Maybe I should believe them. Maybe I should believe them that I am not good enough and I'm too much, not enough, whatever was going on. And I was addressing that this morning because some of those little pieces were coming up, and I was like, do I want to hold on to those old oppression things? Wait, it's a new year. No, I do not. But it was really uncomfortable to go over it again. I mean, I've gone over it, 400,000 times in my head. But in the last couple of years, it was just such strange discomfort and choosing, like Ivory was saying, like, do you want to choose that? Because it's not on purpose. We don't purposely choose the negative or the lower energies. But sometimes it's scary to get through, and it like shoves a mirror in our face and says, oh, we have to look at ourselves and our pieces and our directions. And I am feeling in a big way, I've been feeling this for a long time, that this 2021 is kind of identifying those pieces in ourselves as well as society and the bigger picture earth things. And that we'll go, wait a minute, that was really uncomfortable, but that wasn't true. And it's not that the virus is not true, and it's not that we don't need to pay attention to, different issues. But I think we're going to come together and sort of like kick out some of those lower energies and all choose, separately and together. Like, oh, wait a minute, I am perfect. Someone else might not want to look at me or learn the way I do, but I'm okay, and that's where and then we can like break on through out of the discomfort into the balance of who we really are. Are you guys feeling that too for 2021? A little bit like a step up or down the street a little bit further in our consciousness and in togetherness in a way?
And I'm really glad you shared your feelings and what you went through this year, Melissa, because I want to say something about this, that we're not just talking about people who are stepping into their mission for the first time. Melissa may be new to you, but she's not new to us. She's been with us before. She came from the Midwest. She went back there for a while to take care of some medical things. And in the Midwest, she's wildly popular as a psychic medium. So she has a huge following. And yet she went through this year with these doubts, these thoughts trying to pull her away. So part of part of getting out of your comfort zone can also be stepping into your power and your knowledge of who you are. I know who I am, and no matter what anybody else says about me, I will take a moment to think about whether there's some truth in that, because I do not think I'm perfect or even close to it. So I do think about it. But if I don't see, as I step back and look at it from an outsider point of view, and I don't see anything to that, I am not going to take that on to myself and have that person's opinion become my reality. So I think that's another thing too, is to just get really strong about who you are and what you want, and put kind of a shield around you that you don't take too seriously what other people want you to do or who they want you to be or think you are. Lots of people are going to see you as who you were in childhood or back decades ago, and they just don't seem to have the ability to see who you are now. And that can be confusing for you as you're shifting forward.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. Thank you, because I did go through that, and really brutal. Like, it was brutal, like negative, and much interference and meddling in my career, in my self-love, all of it. And so even in the last week, I've kind of had little thoughts like, okay, maybe you can't do this. And I'm very grateful though for the last couple of years, even though it was really hard, because it kind of gave me a new, like the newness, it gave me a new I don't know what the right word is, restoration into my career and my true heart path, my path. And but exactly what you just said, and it was really uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to look inside of myself and to learn how to have better boundaries and shut down the outer world that, like Roz was saying earlier, like these rules and regulations are, these aren't natural. These aren't the ones that I have in my little paradigm box. I'm grateful for it, but I would not wish it upon anyone. But the discomfort of it all pulled me apart and put me back together. And now I'm so excited to be here and be, like Ivory was saying, like, remember my true self and come back into my power. Not power like I have power over people, but my power inside, my truth.
I'm sorry, what is that beeping going on?
I don't know. What is that?
Nobody knows?
I do. It would be my phone buzzing underneath.
Okay. So I'm like, what is that?
Okay, I was like, all right, we're here. Melissa and I are here in the office. I'm not hearing that.
This morning, somebody turned my clock back 2 hours, and I just happened to look at my cell phone and see it was 10:15, not 8:15 that I thought it was. So I'm just like, I thought it was going to be some other weird spirit tech glitch thing.
You've had that spirit in your house that messes with your clocks for the longest time.
And I switched out to a new one. And I never change the time that I wake up. It stays the same. So and it's difficult to change the time on that clock. It's time consuming and difficult. So kudos to whoever managed to figure that out, but don't do it again. God, I wonder why I said that I woke up at like 7:15. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Why I was up so early.
I just feel like when I felt this huge shift of energy when we got to yesterday morning. And I thought, oh, whoa, okay, new ride. What's going on now? What's happening now? It's this huge, like, whole different wavelength or frequency of energy. And I was like,
oh, I feel the angels coming in. Oh my gosh. I'm covered in chills.
I like it.
Well, I felt that too, and I felt like a positive shift and less weight on me. And then last night, I did have a lot of sessions yesterday, so that may be part of it. But last night, I was so wiped out. I was going to do an online thing with some friends, and I really slept for like 2.5 hours in the late afternoon, evening. And then I slept again later that night. And then I slept all night. I'm like, okay, I don't care if it's New Year's. I can't fight that. And sometimes, to me, that that can be a lot of different things, and it didn't feel negative, but I think it's part of the shift. And
Yeah,
I
something's
just had
definitely
to let myself rest.
moving. Something's moving.
Yeah,
So
and
I
I
want to
think
talk
people
a
have a
minute.
lot of fear about what's coming in 2021 too. I see a lot of posts they're posting about, oh well, what's going to happen next, and so they're still feeling those lower vibrational energies.
Well, I think that's
And we've been saying,
anticipation.
yeah, and we've been saying for the longest time, there is beauty. It's going to come. It's going to be here. I promise.
It's gonna happen.
Um,
I feel it more so, not less. And so I think that's just like waiting for the other shoe to drop, but that's intending negative things to happen. So you could be manifesting negative things. So I'm not going to do that. But I do want to talk about something because we kind of skipped over this, and that's my fault. When you are in your comfort zone, what that means is just doing things, living your life the way you usually do, the way that you're comfortable. But there's another word for that, and it's called rut. Being in a rut. And it's not good to be in a rut. So if you're feeling you need to do something different, you're feeling yourself in a rut. It could be something as simple as taking a class, going back to school, taking up a new hobby, reaching out to a new group of friends. I mean, it can happen in so many different ways. But do not let the lure of your rut hold you back either. All you got to do is climb out of it. Sometimes you just step out of it. You don't even have to climb.
yeah, sometimes it's the little baby steps, like little stepping stones. We take them and we don't think really anything's going to come of it. And then it just gets you, it like breaks through that energy all of a sudden.
Especially if you're a procrastinator and you feel like you've waited so long, just can't, you're frozen, you can't do anything. What Terry Ann was saying is so important. Like, I realized that decades ago, that just make one small step, and then it's easier to make the next one and the next one, and it's easier to make bigger ones. But if you just keep going the way you are, that is not going to be a positive situation. It's just harder and harder to get out of it, to stop doing it. Anybody want to talk about getting out of there? I know Melissa did, and I'm glad you did, Melissa. Anybody want to talk about a comfort zone that they got out of and what resulted?
Well, you know me, and then when we were moving to Sedona, I had this strong urge. We had visited when we first started dating, and I said to him, we're going to live here, and he's like, just brushed it off. And a few years, it's probably about 4 years now, 3 years, and I was like, we had just built a house in Gilbert, and I was like, we're going to live in Sedona. I have to go. And he's like, well, if you can manifest it, we'll make it work. So I was like, all right, well, you said it, so here you go. So that night I was sitting there and I was praying, and I was like, show me the way. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm frustrated. I need to know what I need to do. And the next day I happened to be on something on Facebook, and a job popped up for a psychic and a healer part-time on the weekends in Sedona. So we could live in Sedona on the weekends and still have our house in Gilbert. And we did that for about a year. But I was like, holy shit, now I actually got to go do this. I'm scared as hell. How am I going to do this?
That cracks me up.
You ask and you will receive. And I was like, oh my God, am I crazy? What was I thinking? So,
I gotta
and it was
go.
funny. The first day I worked, I had like 9 or 10 clients, and I was so burnt out. I was like, I couldn't even see straight. I was like, what the hell did I get myself into?
That's too many. Roz and
It
I
was a
used to have
lot.
days like that where we met, and that's too much for me.
Yeah,
But it's amazing when you ask
a lot of
and you
energy.
receive, and then you're like, holy crap, now I actually have to do this. And so he said, if you can manifest it, we'll make it work. And it was so perfectly aligned because it was part-time on the weekends. We could still live in Gilbert and still live up here. I mean, it couldn't be any more perfect.
It's just energy consuming. It's not that, you didn't ask and manifest and create and everything that you needed to be happening, but then unfortunately it takes a tremendous amount of energetic drive to stay in that level of function. really. And Ivory and I have laughed many times. When I came back here in 2007, never was it my intention to end up where I ended up at, at this large psychic center, literally having to do 7, 8, 9 readings a day to pay the bills there. I was renting an office space basically, but it's so interesting because when I when I think back on it, it really tested my whole ability to constantly be kind of quote unquote sort of in the zone where you're staying in that frequency, you're ready to go from one reading to another, like back to back, you're clearing, then you're starting again, pulling in different frequency energy. I sort of shocked myself because I really didn't think I had that ability. And afterwards I was like, whoa, this is teaching me something about my focus and my, ability to stay very calm, very balanced, and very in the zone. And I think that's very valuable because when you're sort of forced to do that, you realize how much how much sort of self-management, discipline, and control and ability to be tuned in to your guidance and stay on that frequency like a radio antenna. So it was a good training, a good wake up for me.
It was.
But could I maintain that? I was still doing that when we left there. I was still doing it for a while after that, quite a while. And then, you reach this point where you have to look at yourself and go, okay, my frequency's high. Yes, I appreciate that. But like I'm frying. And you have to kind of step back and take a look at how much of your energy, you need to maintain for yourself.
Absolutely.
So
I
it
know
was
for me, stepping
demanding.
into this business, I think the hardest thing was I was working in mental health and I was the director of the mental health program for this county that I live in now. And I'd been doing psychic readings on the side for a long time under a different name, usually only by phone or sometimes with friends in person, but pretty much I wanted to keep my identity completely hidden. And it was because if I had any doubts as to what the mental health community thought about this career, I had constant reminders from patients who would be admitted, who heard voices, and they were very clearly not mentally ill. They just were mediums. And what I would hear at the staffings about those clients, and that went very deep to me, that I had to hide this at all costs. And when my angels said, and I want to say too, I loved that career. I thought I would retire from mental health. I'd been in it a long time, loved everything. I finally had a job where I wasn't on call 24/7, which is a miracle in that field. And I loved everything about my job. So that was my comfort zone. I enjoyed the people I work with, just everything about it. Then my angels said, it's time for you to do your business, your spiritual work full time. And I'm like, oh, no. And they said, and you need to move to Sedona and do it in person. Oh, no. And my thoughts were like, oh my God, I'm thinking about what all these doctors are going to say and my coworkers. And I'm going to tell you, like, I finally had to overcome that and just do it anyway. And I stayed in touch with some people at the county facility, and I did hear, and oh, by the way, I did not tell them why I was leaving. I didn't tell the truth. My supervisor, who was at the time that was there, very concrete person, and she's like, why are you leaving? And I'm racing, my head's racing, and I wanted to say the truth, but she would have been one of the worst ones about it. So I said, I'm gonna become a singer. I'm going to do my singing. And she knew I sang. She and her husband came to all my shows. So she, everybody believed it, but I knew what I was actually doing, and I went to do it. And so, yes, there was a lot of flying rumors and talk through the county. People were shocked. People were dismayed. Some people were appalled. But how did it affect me? Not at all. I wasn't there. I didn't have to deal with it. And I knew as soon as I started doing this work full time, I knew how right it was. And it felt so good. And I still get to do the counseling work. I still get to help people with mental health issues, but I get to do so much more besides. But if I'd let my worries about what people were going to think or do, I wouldn't be here now. And some of those people have come to me for readings and still do. I should say that. They're not all thinking it's negative. Some of them are like, oh, I've always thought, you were a voice of reason. I always came to you. I respect you. So yeah, I'm going to come to you for a reading. So there's that too. So that was one of my big stepping out of a comfort zone stories.
Well, and I don't remember ever thinking I was crazy past a level, but that is the thought. I mean, you think, okay, I'm going to sound really crazy when I tell people this.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
and
I
I'm not going to be able to explain
mm-mm.
how this works. Because
Especially people
really,
you've known a long time and that you respect.
yeah,
I had put a lot of time and energy into building that career and building a reputation. And out of that whole time, there was one psychiatrist who worked for me who was open to these things. And we had the greatest conversation. And I don't know why he even brought it up, but he was awesome. One of the last ones that I had working with me. But the rest of them, they thought that was crazy. You're crazy, magical thinking. That's what they saw that
that's
as.
magical thinking.
Mm-hmm. That you have powers somebody else doesn't. It's not powers.
And the interesting part is everybody does have it.
Yes.
It's just a matter of, do you bring that forth? Do you get comfortable in that?
Is it magical thinking if somebody's born with perfect pitch?
Yeah.
They're crazy. You got magical thinking, you think you've got perfect pitch. Why is that any different than being born as a medium or born connection to angels or born with very high psychic skills? It's just another gift you're born with. It's an ability.
And I think people have stepped into that now, because I know a lot of my family members, friends have reached out to me and are like, oh my God, I had this message and I heard this and I saw this and what do you think about it? And I've been dreaming about this. And I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely. Then you feel comfortable coming out. I did think I was crazy, but not then. I thought I was crazy in 84 and 85 when I had my huge spiritual awakening. And all of a sudden, these astral beings were coming in every night and hanging out for hours and touching me and communicating. And I just thought I was losing it. I wasn't even working in mental health then. Where was I? I was working at a financial planning firm. And then I went and worked in radio. So I was not even working in mental health, but I thought I was crazy.
I think the important thing for, for anyone out there who hears this is to realize that, if you're experiencing these sorts of things, there is validity in what's happening with you. And I mean, like, I can remember when I was a little girl saying, I pretty much only talked to my mother about this kind of stuff because she told me. She said, you can't talk to other people about the people you see and the people you talk to, and because they're going to think you're crazy and you're going to get locked up. You could get locked up. So
She's right.
and she was right. And she said, so, just come talk to me. And I did. So it was very interesting because I would describe to her who I was seeing and what I was seeing. And these were who's. These were a being. These were an entity It wasn't just like magical thinking. And it was so interesting because the times that these, there are dark entities, there are negative entities out there. They've been talked about for years, and they're here.
And I've mentioned this before, but something you said, Roz, brings it up. I was working at the last facility where I supervised group homes for adults coming out of the state hospital and kind of step down units. And there was a really nice Native American guy who was huge, like 6'5", really just a teddy bear of a guy. And we had never talked about anything spiritual. I kept that completely separated from my work. He came into my office and he called me Sherry. Back then, people in business called me Sherry. And he said, Sherry, there's something very dark here. You need to take care of that. And he turned around and walked back to his room. And I'm thinking, how does he know to come to me? How does he even know I can take care of that? And I did. It was very dark and we were having weird problems there, unpleasant ones. And
Paranormal.
I did clear it. So he just knew, but he was locked up. I don't think he was mentally ill. I think he was like a medicine man kind of energy about him. And he saw spirit and heard them and he got locked up. So it doesn't always happen, but it can happen. But that's neither here nor there. We can talk about that some other time. But I just think that right now is an opportunity for us coming through a lot of trauma, uncertain times. This is a good time to reevaluate what you really want. What do you want your life to be? And guess what? No one's going to come in and do it for you. Nobody can take the steps to get you where you need to be. You're going to have to step out on a limb. You're going to have faith and trust if you want to get where you want to go.
And trust what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that's like the most important thing. The logical, intellectual, analytical mind can just take you off on a wild thing. But if you trust what you feel, what you know, that's clairsentience, that's knowing that you have, and what you realize has to happen, and you trust that, and you take action. I just don't believe you're going to be led astray. But the one thing that may have to happen is you may have to cut some of those very logical, analytical, intellectual kind of people out of your life, because they're not very receptive at times to what you're experiencing. I don't know if any of you guys are having this happen, but my screen is going crazy. It's just jumping all over the place.
No, but I notice it looks like I've got a scoop out of my brain.
We all feel that way sometimes, I think.
No, it's not jumping around. So are you seeing that, Melissa?
No. And I'm 20 feet away from Roz in another office.
We're in our offices in the Soul Sisters layer.
I'm not. I'm still at home.
And I don't know. It's just going crazy, jumping all over. I mean, I can
Could be spirit.
You're just not. Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you, but it's just going nuts.
Well, I'm feeling a lot of angels pressing in, a lot of angelic energies, so it could be them. I feel a lot of confirmation from them of things we're talking about, points we're making that's important. And this morning I had to have a hot pack on my eyes for 10 minutes. So I was laying there and I thought, I'm going to have a little extra time to talk to my angels this morning. And I said, are we doing anything important with our Sedona Soul Sisters show? And I got this big yes. And I'm like, is it just getting the word out to more people? Yes. Is it going to lead to a bigger platform? Yes. And that was under 3 layers of fluffy down comforters and blankets. So I had a little confirmation that, we are helping people through this show. And that's an important thing to me, because another thing to consider is you have limited time and energy. And you want to make sure that if you have a mission, the things that you're doing are supporting that mission, that it's not distracting you from it. It's not taking away energy you need to put towards meaningful things. And it's not that I have doubts about our show. It's that regularly I like to do check-ins on everything I'm doing to see if my angels feel like that's an important thing to continue doing, if that's a good use of my time and energy. And I recommend that to people. It kind of helps keep you on track and paying attention to your priorities.
I had that confirmation this morning as well. Not exactly what you just said, but it was like, am I on the right track? And I'm learning how to prioritize and balance everything better, because I'm kind of notorious for not doing that and burning myself out a little bit as I go along. And I just have to say this, because over all the years, doing readings for 30 years and not being very protective of myself in a way, it makes me giggle now. The sometimes when people will have an appointment and they'll lean in and they'll say, "Look, you're gonna think I'm crazy," and I think to myself, really, the person that talks about UFOs all the time, you're gonna say you're crazy? Because they're not. And I'm so delighted and excited to see in just different personalities and people finding their gifts and balance in that as well. And there are many funny, crazy stories over the years that I have. One of my very most important moments of my life is when I realized that this psychiatrist, pardon me, when I lived in the Midwest, and I was popular, but I was separate. Like, people pointed at me, and I was also having targeting, which people would break in my house, and trolls targeting bad stuff. It was creepy. And so I realized, like, I never asked people, very much about them. I just do their appointments and things like that first. And I say, well, how did you hear about me? And they kept saying, oh, my psychiatrist sent me. I said, excuse me. It's not, like, especially in the this was quite a few years, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And I said, what? And they said, well, yeah, you saved someone's life, and you helped somebody by what you helped them with, and we're teaching them and helping them connect. And I was like, what? And I finally, because he sent so many people, and he had investigated me and everything, but I finally called him and I said, what are you doing? Like, you have a PhD, and I'm a psychic medium that talks about celestial beings all day, and he goes, yeah, you're the one that understands it, and you're the one that does, I wish we could all work together more, because people are not crazy. We do not want to use that word in this world. And it would be, helpful for us to blend our knowledge and help others find their truth and healing and whatever it is. And that was one of the best days of my whole career. I mean, like, then it made it all worth it why I listened and never, never listened to anybody and said, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what God told me to do inside. So I'm going to do it. It made it all worth it.
That's awesome.
And so when you're talking about, all your years and mental health and helping your service person, and it just makes me so delighted when people, when I have an appointment, every time they lean in and they go, look, you're gonna think I'm crazy. And I'm like, I don't think so. And if we're crazy today, we'll work on it. We'll clear and heal and balance. And it just makes me giggle, because people's talents and abilities and their natural right to be able to connect with the divine, or whatever words they use, their magic, their power, clear sentience, clear audience, all the things. I just think I'm so delighted that people are coming into their recognition of that in themselves, and that they're following their God path inside. And it may all look different, but people are coming onto path in their paths really well. So does it make sense the way I'm saying it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
We
That
all
makes
get
sense.
here. We all get where we're supposed to be in different ways, but we all have the same challenges. And like Melissa's saying, it looks different, but we all have the same challenges. And the worst ones, I think, are within our own minds. And we scare ourselves. And the worst thing is the what ifs. What ifs? What ifs? Let's just stop that right away, because 99.9% of that is probably never going to happen. So talk about a waste of our time and energy on what ifs. There's enough, we got enough problems going on right here now that we know about that are actually real. And let's think about that and deal with that and let go of the what ifs. I have the biggest complaint with news with, what if this happens? What are you, insane? You know, why would you put that out there? Why would you even put that energy out there when there's already enough fear and uncertainty? It just infuriates me. So the one thing we can do is try not to do it to ourselves. And Terry Ann brought that up earlier with people freaking out, putting things out there about what they're afraid of is going to happen in 2021. I think we need to start putting it out there in social media, what we see positive things happening and what we feel is coming in, because I don't want to put one bit of energy to those negative things. I don't want to be a part of that.
Total agreement on that.
Oh, any other thoughts today on breaking out of your comfort zone?
If you're
Just have
hesitating,
faith.
just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, if you make a mistake, so what? If you make a mistake, do it better. Learn. That's how you learn. I mean, I was just telling a student yesterday, it was yesterday, that the first probably 6 months of your business is going to be figuring things out. You have the knowledge, you know what you want to do, but you're going to be figuring things out that work for you and redoing it and reorganizing and having realizations. So you might as well get started, because you can't bypass that. You know, experience teaches you so much. So whatever it is you want to do, just for heaven's sakes, do it, try it. You don't want to have regrets when it's too late of what might have happened if you'd pursued that desire.
And falling down teaches you how to get back up. So, you know, those things are also meant to teach you.
Mm-hmm. We all know about that getting back up, don't we, ladies?
Ah, yes.
Again and again and again. We're like weebles. You knock us over, we're just like, we might wobble a little for a while, but we bounce right back up.
You know, one of the things, the art pieces that we have up is, I've loved this for years and years, and I take a picture of it and sometimes just check it out when I need a little encouragement, self-encouragement. But one of the art pieces we have up at the Sedona Soul Sisters office says, "Dance like you've never danced before, love like I mean, like, no, I mean, just all break on through." And what are the other things? Like, I literally have a photo, and every once in a while I just
It
read it
says,
and go,
sing like no one's listening, dance like no one's watching. And there's a couple other things. I got that at a secondhand shop. We had to have it. I love that saying too.
Very apropos.
Go
it
for it.
inspires me every day. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
I'm kind of forced to see it every day.
Like, live your joy, you know.
In case we forget, it's there.
Yes. Yes, it is a little inspiration for you. Oh, goodness. Thank you for watching the Sedona Soul Sister Show today. If you'd like more information about us, you can visit our website, sedonasoulsisters.com. Tune in next Friday when the topic is talking to the higher self. And in the meantime, we hope you have an enlightening week, and let's kick off a much better year, shall we?
Yes, please.
Oy, oy, oy.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, hang on.